Hello and welcome to HSM 215. In today's class, we are going to be looking at data presentation 4, in which we are going to focus on the use of PowerPoint and of Google Slides in presenting your health data. So there are three learning objectives. The first is to show you guys how to use templates to create your slides in Google Slides and in PowerPoint. And the second objective is to show you guys how to create presentation styles that are simple and crisp, so that you're able to succinctly and more adequately communicate your health data to your audience in a way that is going to be engaging for them. And then lastly, in the third learning objective, we're going to look at teaching you guys how to format your slides, but focusing on inserting images, inserting videos, and inserting graphs into your presentation. So that's going to be what we're going to focus on in your third objective. So for this video, because I'm going to do multiple videos in to be able to tackle all three learning objectives. But in this first video, I'm going to look at your presentation templates. But before we get into that, in sense of how to create the templates, we ask the question: so why are you learning about using PowerPoint or Google Slides? What's the point of learning about this? The thing about presentations, and it's used in several audiences and in several industries, including the health industry. The reason why they're very, very popular when it comes to presenting information is because it helps in conveying information in a simplified format, whereby even people who are not technically trained in the information that you are presenting, they don't. Is an easy way of getting them to know the things that you want them to know, without putting it in a way that is can be a bit difficult for them to understand. And it's particularly so when it comes to health data, because there's a lot of behind the scene work that goes on. You guys would have already have discovered that. If you've come up to this, you've come this far in this course, you would see all the things that you had to do in creating database, in creating pivot table, in creating the graph, in creating the line charts and all the rest of this. Filtering your data set. What's it called? Sorting your data set. A lot of this is things that if you hadn't taken this course, you probably wouldn't know about it. And for the most part, the people you're going to be presenting the data to are not going to be trained in any shape or form about this behind the scene work, which it can be quite extensive. And so the only way for them to understand all the things you did behind the scene, the creating the data and all the rest of them and all the analysis, is through your presentation, your PowerPoint, your Google Slides. And if you show them the full extent of the work that you did, everybody's going to be lost. Nobody's going to understand what it is that you're talking about. Anybody who hasn't taken any course in data, healthcare data, or particularly course like this, isn't going to be able to create a data set on how to do the analysis. So, but the people that a large a proportion of your audience, the people that you're presenting your data to, have no training whatsoever in all of that. So, and yet you have to present this information. So you can imagine that it's a very messy work, and yet they have to kind of understand it while without all that messiness. When I say messy, I mean it's kind of complicated, and there's a lot of things that that's going on behind the scene. So, and some of the things that can lead to the messiness is because data sets can be very, very large. In this class, the data sets you guys have created have been like for 50 participants, but in in many situations, especially in your work situations, you're going to be looking at thousands and hundreds of thousands of data sets. If you're working with Medicare or Medicaid, or those who are kind of taking care of all the data that comes from there, or you're pulling data from electronic health records, you're going to be dealing in thousands and hundreds of thousands of data sets. It is not going to be easy for someone who has not received any kind of training to be able to make any sense out of it. So you have data set that can be very large and can be complicated. And so they, it's messy work. And yet you have to kind of present that without the messiness. And then in situations whereby people are using statistical software to analyze data, it can be very difficult for untrained people to understand the analysis, and in some statistical software you're basically having to write codes. Nobody who is untrained is going to be able to understand that, and yet you have to kind of communicate your information to them in a way that they understand it. Remember, these are people that are untrained, and yet you have to kind of give them this information in a way that kind of cleans out all of the messiness that happens behind the scene. And then in most situations, the people you are presenting this data to, your health information to, they're very, very busy. For most times, they're very busy and they have very limited time to deconstruct your information. So you have a very short window to tell them everything that they need to know, and sometimes you only have 15 minutes or even 10 minutes for to present a work that you have done probably in a weeks long worth of work. 15 minutes, and you don't have a lot of time to walk people step by step. So you have 2 weeks of work or even 1 month of work that you now have to show someone in 15 minutes. So that's a very short time period. So you have to make it quick and easy for them to look at sit through your presentation and be able to make sense of what it is that you're trying to say. So that is one of the importance of having the Google Slides and the PowerPoint simplify your information, your health information, your health data in a way that gets straight to the point. So, a well presented slide communicates professionalism, especially, you guys are going to be using the skills that you acquire from this course in your work. And it has to show that you've taken the course on data presentation, health data presentation. And if you present it very well in a way that is very quick and easy for people to understand, it communicates professionalism. Oh, you know what you're doing, you understand this data, kind of communicates to your audience that you understand the data that you have now presented, the data that you analyzed. It shows that you know what you're doing. So it's very important that when you're presenting your data in PowerPoint and in Google Slides, that you do it in such a clean and simple way that people are able to know, okay, this person knows what they're doing. And then one of the reasons is because your audience will better understand your material. If your presentation is as messy as the behind the scene work, you're only going to end up confusing them, and they're not going to be able to make sense of whatever data that you put out. Is not going to make a lot of sense to them. And then that very short window that I told you guys, the 15 minutes that you have to present your data will be something that you've kind of wasted their time, and you've wasted your time as well. So it's very, very important to understand how to create presentations in a way that your health information is adequately and succinctly communicated. So, and also in any assessment, right? Not just school assessments, but in any work assessment, you know how you present your information counts a lot towards how well you do in those assessments. So, it's important to know how to present your information. It's not just to say, oh, you know, all the good information is in the slides. You know, if your presentation is messy, if it's not clean, it introduces a lot of noise in your information that is going to make it difficult when it comes to assessing. So you're going to end up not probably not leaving the best impression as a result. So it's pretty important to know how to do that. Imagine if you're presenting, you know, an analysis you've done for a month, and you're having to do an international conference, for an example, and then your presentation is so chaotic and people can't make sense of it. You're going to come back feeling not so great about yourself. So now we've kind of covered that, the reason why it's important to present your health data in Google Slides or in PowerPoint. Some of the things you kind of want to, know about, you know, about creating, doing your presentation. The first is that understand that in your presentation, you are trying to tell a story, right? You're trying to tell the story. Imagine yourself as the writer who is trying to tell the story. So you are deciding what story you want to be told and how you want that story to be told. So think about it in terms of, what do I want my audience to get out of this? When they look at this presentation, what do I want them to get out of it? What's the information I want them to get out of it? So think about your presentation as you telling a story. So, and when you're telling the story, you want to make it engaging, right? You want to make it engaging. You want to make people listen to the story, and ask questions like, okay, so what happened next? All of those sorts of things. So think about your presentation as you telling a very, very interesting story. So this is an example of someone making a presentation about vacation planning. From this chart, from this graph, you can see they've kind of separated some of the things that they're going to do in the vacation into, you have the housing, anything that's related to housing. They've used the blue color to kind of communicate, to say, and if it's blue, is housing. And then they've used green, light green at the borders and dark green on the inside, to say anything that is green is travel. And then it's saying anything that is light green inside the circle and light green at the border is activities, and anything that is dark green full is food. So from this image, you don't really need to say a lot. We know that this vacation is happening in Hawaii. We know it's going to involve housing, it's going to involve activities, it's going to involve food, it's going to involve travel. And we know some of the things that is going to be considered, like flight, rental car, and then for housing, we're going to be looking at a condo rental or hotel. So this is a very, very simple image that is kind of communicating it. So you can have this image in projection, and you can start talking about giving a bit more details about what is happening. Like, you don't have to have everything written down like in bullet points, to communicate what it is that you're saying, especially in a situation whereby you're giving a presentation to people. You can just say, okay, this is the things I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on in this image to understand that these are all the pockets of things that I'm going to discuss in the vacation, and then you can go ahead and discuss it. The reason it's important is because, remember, in most presentations, you are talking your audience through what is in your slides, right? You're not just, for most times, all you have is your slides. That's everything. No, you're not having to kind of say anything. But in some presentation, you're having both your slide and you talking to your audience. So in a situation whereby you're talking to your audience as well as a slide, you want to make sure that the slides are is augmenting the things that you're going to say rather than all the information being in your slide. It's important to have both things working together with each other. So this is another presentation. This is looking at sales reports for different years. So once you have the three graphs here that is very, very succinctly telling what is going on. You can see for this company, they are, there's increase in revenue that they're showing. And you can also see there's increase in, where the sales is kind of coming from. And you're looking at also revenue over time. So this and these two together are kind of presenting the same information. This is a line chart, as you guys know, and this is a bar chart, and this is a pie chart. You can have it in here like this, and then especially if it's and even if it's just like a presentation that you don't have to like talk people through it, this communicates to people that okay, we're doing well in this case, and also shows that this is doing well. So your presentation can have very good communication, but you have to do it. Whoever is creating this graph has to make it simplified in such a way that you don't have to be there to walk people through what is all the thing that is happening in your graph, right? Someone can clearly see that this is where this was at this it was at zero, and in 2000 and YY it was at between $250,000 to $350,000. So if your graph is noisy, if your graph has a lot of information in it that is not relevant, the person who is looking at this presentation is not going to know what it is that you want them to focus on, because there's so many things that will be going on in it. That's why you have to format your graph in such a way that it hones in the information you want the person to focus on. Like I said, your presentation is you telling a story. You're telling a story to an audience who are untrained, and you're telling the story to an audience who have very limited time to understand what it is that, the story that you're telling. So, because of that, do not put a lot of unnecessary information in your graphs. Do not put a lot of unnecessary information in your charts. Do not put a lot of unnecessary information in every other information that is going to come in your presentation. It's very, very important to bear this in mind when you're creating the graph that is going to be for presentation, when you're creating the table that is going to be for information, so that this way you don't introduce a lot of noise to your presentation and makes it difficult for your audience to kind of make sense of it. So this is I've put in a video on how to create your templates in PowerPoint. I've also created a video on how to use templates in Google Slides. So together with what I talked to you guys about, and the reason why you're using your presentation in PowerPoint and using your presentation in Google Slides, go in and watching these videos with that knowledge that at the end of the day, when you're choosing your template, choose your template from the perspective of, I want to make this to be clean. I want to make this to be crisp. I want to make this so that the information that I share is going to be succinct and is going to be engaging to my audience. So in the next video, I'm going to focus on the second learning objective. So see you guys then. Bye.